All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dudes Talking episode 39. Here with me today, I have a dear friend of the show and a fellow brother in Christ, Wayne McRoy, author of The Alchemical Tech Revolution and The Autism Epidemic, Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret. I own both of Wayne's books. I have read them. I definitely recommend that my audience read them as well. Wayne does excellent research. He was also a speaker with me at the Shoot the Moon conference back in October in NYC, and I'm very grateful here today to have Wayne join us. How you doing this morning, Wayne?
Doing good, John. Glad to be on. Thanks for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, very, very much so. I've been a fan of your work for a long time, and I find it transhumanism very fascinating. Because I find it as a way of the elites attempt for them to try to supersede, at least attempt supersede God's will by trying to permanently control us. If they reach that end game, I don't think that they will. I think hopefully God will intercede beforehand, because I don't think that they can completely take away our free will. But they are using it in different mechanisms to control us, to monitor us, to socially engineer us in differing degrees. Many people argue about how much this technology is currently in place, how much of it is theoretical. What would you have to say to that, Wayne? To start out with, how much of this technology is really in place now as far as fulfilling their transhumanist agenda?
Oh, there's a good deal of it that they do really have in place right now, and that's the thing. A lot of people underestimate that and think when they see a lot of this stuff, this is all future tense stuff that they're talking about. It's not. A lot of these technologies do exist right now and are being implemented right now, unbeknownst to most of the people. When you look at some of the things they talk about when they say this future technology or whatever, what they're really talking about, when you break it down and really understand it, is when they're talking about, say, a technology that they're expecting to hit the market, say, 10 years from now. What you need to realize is that in the special access programs, black budget community of the military industrial complex, these technologies probably already existed 20 years ago and have been put through their paces already. So when you see anything hit the public sector, you have to realize that stuff is bare minimum 30 years old from the special access programs. So this is something that people kind of need to keep in the back of their mind whenever they see these new tech innovations and stuff, hitting the public media. Because when you look at it, they're bare minimum 30 to 50 years ahead in the special access programs of what we see as the state of the art today in the public sector. So when these military industrial complex agencies and companies put this stuff out for public consumption, you could bet your bottom dollar it's already been tested and militarized and weaponized in every way possible about 20 to 30 years ago. So when you see this new stuff coming out, or these things that they're saying, well, this is a theoretical future technology, you could bet your bottom dollar it's already been put through its paces by the military industrial complex, because they won't let anything like that theoretical hit the public mind until they've already tested it. So when you see it, rest assured it already has existed for a good amount of time and has already been figured out how to be weaponized by the military industrial complex. So that's kind of a frame of reference people need to keep in mind with a lot of this stuff. And people tend to think, oh, well, that's like science fiction, and that's a step too far for some people. But I assure you, the things that these proprietary companies are keeping secret and are being funded by DARPA and other agencies and stuff to develop are just beyond the imagination of what you could even think about it as being something that exists. So it's kind of one of those things where when they're talking about these future technologies, it's already out there. So and we're starting to see some of it come into public view right now,
Yes.
especially things like the nanotechnologies and stuff like that, which play a key role into the whole transhumanist push.
Yes, using CRISPR for gene editing. I mean, they've been doing genetic modification on organisms for at least, I want to go on and say at least 30, 40 years. I mean, before that, I mean, it entered the public consciousness in the last probably about 20 years with genetically modified foods. But I mean, it's been there. I mean, it's even when you look into the health industry of how health researchers are 20 to 30 years ahead of clinical practice by doctors, because because of big pharma and how the medical establishment, as far as learning, has been structured from the Abraham Flexner report that was put forth by the Rockefellers around 1920s, that did away with naturopathic colleges for the most part and the naturopathic school of medicine. So you know, if you look in the literature, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease is likely caused by an organism called Mycobacterium avium paratuberculosis, which is found in ruminant animals. And it's very well known, multiple studies, multiple testing and everything. But if you ask your average gastroenterologist what is the cause of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, they kind of throw their hands up in the air and they're like, ooh, you know, the body just starts attacking itself. It's an autoimmune condition. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest bit that most of the technology that we have holding in our hands today, the government has technology that is far more advanced from that, especially with their black budgets, with the boys in the white coat like DARPA researching all this and classified technology. So, yeah, when people say that it's impossible for this technology to exist, or at least it's all theoretical, I disagree. I mean, look at what they're trying to accomplish with Neuralink, for example. Wayne, and I know that you've talked about Elon Musk and Neuralink, but how far off do you think Neuralink is before it's actually fully implemented, or do you think they've already tested it and they've already, you know, it's just being rolled out to the masses?
Well, it's publicly known as a fact that this has already been tested in lab rats and mice and stuff, and has had some success. According to Elon Musk, this year they're starting human trials this year, and Elon Musk also said something that I predicted a long time ago now, and I put in my book, The Autism Epidemic: Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret. He's saying now that they could actually, what's the word he used? Basically, he's saying that they could use this technology to treat autism and schizophrenia, among other things. He actually said this in a podcast back in November now. So, I mean, he's on public record saying this, and I'm on the public record predicting that this would happen within the next year, and sure enough, it did. So,
what does he mean by treat? How, you know what I mean? By putting the Neuralink, you know, processing unit into the brain and correcting neurotransmitter release and synapse function, that it would, you know, that somehow, like, I just don't see it happening. And even if it did happen, like, it would be the cure for autism or whatever. One, we would never see it, and two, wouldn't there be some sort of, I would assume, some sort of side effect with, you know, putting some sort of Neuralink device into your brain? I mean, especially if it's broadcasting or receiving some sort of signal similar to the RFID chips that dogs get, that would increase your risk rate of developing cancer, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different side effects I would think that are possible, but basically, that's what he says. Elon Musk claims Neuralink can solve autism and schizophrenia. So basically what he's suggesting is that, you know, they could rewire your brain function to kind of sidestep a lot of these pathologies or these symptoms, and, you know, make it work in a more neurotypical fashion. So, you know, I mean, does the potential exist to maybe be able to do something like this? Possibly. But I would also suspect that there's got to be some kind of side effects or something to it. I mean, these neuroprosthetic devices are going to be a big thing coming up in the very near future because they're supposedly going to be able to enhance human cognitive function to a degree that's unheard of. Like, imagine if you could just by thinking about it connect to the internet and know anything in the vast massing of human knowledge out there, which is basically the internet. They've talked about these things in different scientific papers and stuff too, and it's really really kind of disturbing, some of the things that they're talking about being able to do with this. You're talking about a term that'll be coming to be known within the next couple of years here that's going to be a big issue politically. Is something called cognitive liberty. So that's going to be something in play with this as well.
Yeah, Jimmy Jean from Into the Microcosm has had shows with Epic Journeyman about cognitive liberty, and how keeping your own thoughts to yourself, or so that they won't be analyzed, or I guess almost thought crime, or even pre-crime, similar to the Minority Report, the Philip K. Dick book that was turned into a movie, or was, I guess, a short story. But so yeah, I find it very interesting that I just don't. I think the brain, as far as a processor, as far as a processing unit, is probably extremely advanced, and I don't see at first of them implementing Neuralink with it. I think it just would make it so you could access the information without having to be in front of a computer using your thoughts. Maybe you would visualizing it using your eyes in front of you or something, and kind of it being that at first. Now, whether or not it speeds up the processing ability of the human brain, I'd have to see that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to. I think that might be years down the line. At least it would be available to someone like us. Now, granted, I'm not getting this, and I don't think you are either. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not putting a Neuralink in my brain. It ain't happening. But I think it at least in its early stages, it would appear to me that it would almost be like Google Glasses, but instead you use your brain and you can think stuff. And you understand what I'm saying? Is it, or am I just making it too simplistic?
Well, I think basically you're thinking about something as basic as connection speed, which is the whole reason why that they're upgrading all these wireless networks, why the 5G is kicking into place. Yeah. And now they're talking about 6G already and saying that's going to be something like 10,000 times faster than 5G. So you're talking about data processing at the speed of thought. And that's what they need in order to make this work.
Yes.
This all relates to the Internet of Things, and there's a subsystem of the Internet of Things they've been talking about developing, and that's called the Internet of Thoughts. So,
I did not know about that. Interesting. Okay, so kind of them borrowing human thought as for processing power. Is that pretty much what it is?
Well, that, and they actually plan on trying to combine everybody's consciousness into a hive mind type scenario, something similar to the Borg of Star Trek. I mean, it's amazing how they put this stuff out there in the entertainment first to tell you what they're planning on, and then lo and behold, this is what they try to bring about. So it's kind of some scary stuff, but ultimately, what the plan is, what their end game is to combine all of the accumulated human knowledge and human experience together into a collective hive mind, and to be able to access this hive mind from anywhere pretty much. And that's the thing. That's why they have this whole cloud technology capability and stuff like that, so that data is not lost. This is the same reason they set up things like blockchain, because you're talking about they don't want to lose any information. And they've also talked about being able to experience things from somebody else's perspective, and being able to know exactly what they were feeling, what they were thinking, what they were seeing, what they were doing at a particular time. And this is something called transparent shadowing. And this is talked about in a scientific research paper that was just published in a peer-reviewed journal not that long ago. I'm going to try and find it here, and I'll actually read you verbatim what it says about this.
So,
And
so they're going to try to they're going to try to frame it, Wayne, as a way to live in another person's shoes so you can become more empathetic to their lives and increase your emotional IQ. I would assume is how they're going to try to frame that.
right, so you could understand what it's like to be an LGBTQ person or something like that. You could understand just how hard it is and this kind of thing, and be more tolerant of one another. And this is the kind of stuff they're talking about. So, it's like some really next level stuff. But yeah,
Ye-
it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, Billy and I were talking about it last night on the Infinite Fringe that what is the line that people will be willing to accept when it comes to all this technology? Like for example, we were talking about cochlear implants and people not previously being able to hear, and they have a cochlear implant put in and then they're able to hear, like even little children who've never heard before, and you see the videos and then they hear and then they're crying, or even adults, and so yeah, that's extremely beneficial, and maybe that might be a part of the technology that may enrich people's lives. And there might be some drawbacks from cochlear implant surgery, or possibly increasing rates of cancer. But that might be a risk that someone is willing to take to be able to hear. So there are some aspects of this technology that can be used to benefit people's lives that I would consider to be necessary, or something where it's kind of like by less harm. But there are, other thing. When is it, like, how much of this technology are people going to be willing to accept? When is it for a medical necessity, and when is it for pleasure? How much of a risk do these technologies come with? Like, that's my biggest question is what's a person's line and what are they willing to accept? Because we all carry around with us, at least most people, watching a cell phone, and our cell phones are able to track us. They're able to listen. They're able to analyze our heart rate. If yours has a heart rate monitor built into it, it's able to do many other data mining aspects. But yet we willingly carrying it around because it's easier than just sitting down at a computer and having a desk phone every time you need to call somebody. So it's at what point do people opt out of the beast system? You know what I mean, Wayne?
Oh, absolutely. And see, that's the whole key to a lot of this stuff is they introduce this stuff to us as something beneficial to mankind. And, hey, if there's a way to, say, maybe use a neuroprosthetic device to make somebody who's paraplegic be able to walk again, that's a good thing, right? So, I mean, this is all technology and stuff that does have some good uses, and that's how they roll this stuff out to us, is under the guise of something good. So when you look at it from that perspective, yeah, I mean, technology is a tool like anything else. It can be used for good or bad. The only problem is the people that are, by and large, in charge of this stuff now do not have our best interest in mind with this stuff. So that's the thing we need to keep in mind and take it all with a grain of salt, because from the research I've done and what I've seen, my conclusion is the elite has no intention of allowing this stuff to become available for the public at large. We're not going to be the beneficiaries of it, although they'll roll it out and make it look that way. But when it comes down to it, this technology is just for the elite. That all the good uses and stuff of it. They're not going to use it for that with us. So that's what we need to keep in mind is, they have a completely different agenda, all their own, in mind with this stuff. So it's one of those things where, although it sounds good and it looks good on paper with a lot of things, they're not going to allow us to be the beneficiaries of it, because when it comes down to it, this whole transhumanist agenda is a very ancient agenda that has its roots all the way back in the ancient mystery schools of antiquity. So, when you look at it from their perspective, they have no room for the profane in their new age. And that's essentially what this is. This all has very occultic ties. So they view you and I as being the profane, and they have no place for the profane in their new age.
Not at all. At least the one, at least people that will reject their beast system, and definitely Christians like you and I, they definitely have no place at all for us. But yeah, so when it comes to the I guess the blockchain, we could discuss that for a minute. I guess they're going to use, like you said, the blockchain to store data, among other things. I mean, they're going to eventually use it for monetary purposes, I would assume, probably XRP, for example, or something. Eventually, it's going to replace the cash that we have in our hands, because the system has always evolved from bartering to coins to precious metals and to cash, Federal Reserve backed notes, and to credit now, because very few people actually really carry cash on them. They just use their cards, right? It's at this point there's not even tangible money that you're really holding in your hands anymore. Now it's what's on a tangible card that you're holding. And so I guess the next logical step up from that would be to pay everybody using a blockchain, because there'll be a quote unquote permanent ledger. So they use that for it. But what else do you think that they're gonna use to store the information on the blockchain? I've heard medical records as a way of trying to improve security for medical records. Not that some blockchains have not been hacked in the past; they have been, medical records. Genetic data, people, getting their genetic testing done through 23andMe, for example. What have you come across as far as the blockchain when it comes to the alchemical tech revolution? Wayne, did I lose you? Hello? All right, let me try to call Wayne back real quick.
Oh, you there, sorry, Wayne? John.
That's okay.
I'm here. Sorry, man.
It's okay.
I muted my mic and didn't realize it. I missed the mic.
Oh, don't worry. I've done
that.
I've done that plenty of times. All anyway, right. Go ahead.
Definitely. They're definitely using blockchain to tie medical records and medical information on all your genetic identification information, biometrics, and that's a big science that's going on by and large, and this is already implemented and in place today. In fact, there's a nonprofit organization called the Global Alliance for Genomics and Health that is already collecting all of your biometric data and your medical records and all your genetic information, and they're storing this on a blockchain utility. And what they do is they've assigned to you what they call a global unique identifier number. And this number is supposedly, they assign this to, whatever medical information that they get on you. And they supposedly keep your identity secret so that none of the researchers and stuff who are using this utility to look at for, medical reasons or for research reasons, they don't have any of your identifying information, supposedly. But if you think the artificial intelligence can't put two and two together to figure out who you are based upon your biometric data, you got another thing coming. But this is actually already being used. And like I said, it's a nonprofit organization, an international one called the Global Alliance for Genomics and Health. And they're collecting people's biometric data and their medical data and everything else, and it's being put in a blockchain utility. So they know everything about you already. just based upon your visits to the doctors. Why do you think all these medical systems and doctors' offices have all switched to the computer? Like if you go to the doctor now, what's the first thing they do? They check you in the computer, they take you back in the room, they ask you questions. The doctor sits there, types things into your record, and a lot of these records are online and available for you as the patient to actually look at yourself now. And this is a tool. I mean, they're collecting all this information in one place so that they can collate the data properly and be able to determine what they want to determine about it. And this is just one step further towards a medical tyranny, which with things like forced vaccinations and things of that ilk, and this whole nonsense with the coronavirus going on, where they're actually quarantining and locking down whole cities of 11 million people. This is something to be concerned about, because they could use this blockchain utility to find all the data they want on you, and nothing ever gets lost or erased. And that's the basic reason for the blockchain. Now, it was rolled out initially for things like Bitcoin and currency, which they kind of promoted as being the alternative to these central banks and stuff. So they kind of roll it out with the thought in mind that this is going to decentralize everything and take the power away from the corrupt banksters and stuff. But the day that we actually switch to blockchain for our currency is the day we lose more freedoms than have ever been lost before in all of human history. So this is something that'll be touted as being something good, which it has, because that nobody could hack your account or that kind of thing, especially if they tie your actual biometric data to the money system. This is the beast system when it comes down to it. It's very scary.
It is. I've been watching the differing coins and the cryptocurrencies that are out there in existence for a very long time at this point. It's been almost about 4 years. I know it's been a lot longer than that, but I mean, just for me, it's been about 4 years since I've been watching them and researching and studying. You can see the ones that seem to be backed by the world order the most, like XRP, and Kin and VeChain, which is doing Chinese Walmart distribution right now, but they're actually thinking about adding the vaccine to VeChain, and Orbs and Orbs. It was interesting that it came out that Orbs was they're working on something to do with the Middle East peace plan, because they were an Israeli blockchain company. And it came out that the Trump administration, through Jared Kushner, was working with them, and I found that very interesting. I have no idea what that necessarily would have entailed, though, because Orbs just seemed like another company that blockchain company that just did inventory. But you see a lot of RFID tracking through the blockchain, like with what's that? There's a specific, I think it's like, there's a specific chain coin, another one too, that where they're doing RFID for like clothing. Or you see the Internet of Things coin, IOTA coin, that's supposed to connect all your appliances together for smart data and stuff like that. So yeah, they're definitely using the blockchain not for a way to get us off central currencies like you had mentioned, but they're putting it through many different modes that the world order has specific coins that they're investing in, or that they're looking into as another way of controlling and using large amounts of processing to have large amounts of data. And so that would stay supposedly in an indestructible blockchain. So we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they will implement it in different. There will be some coins that survive and some coins that don't survive. Obviously, the world order likes to compete companies against one another, unless you're the big companies. The conglomerates. But yeah, I mean, they're going to use it, and it doesn't surprise me about them already having us. And I've seen many different coins of doing similar things, of trying to collect medical data and claiming it being more safer. But just like you said, Wayne, if people out there don't think that they have a a way to get that data, to look past your number. Remember, the Social Security number was not supposed to be for identification purposes, but now we use it for that all the time.
Absolutely. That's
So,
like your primary identifier number, pretty much, is your Social Security number here in the States. So, this is the same kind of thing going on. At some point or another, the whole cryptocurrency thing, it's all going to roll over into one standardized cryptocurrency, okay? And it's going to be all tied together with all your biometric information, all your data. All your data will be on a chip implanted in the back of your hand or in your forehead. And this will be how you buy and sell. This has been predicted for a long time. I mean, a
yeah.
long time. This is the whole mark of the beast system that's always talked about in the Bible and stuff like that. And it's gotten actually to the point where it's so sophisticated now, they don't even need to put a chip in you per se. It's not going to be something as necessarily direct as you go get in line at the doctor's office and they inject a chip into your hand or your forehead. They could be implanting this stuff right now without you knowing through the use of these nanotechnologies. And just to get back to that nanotechnology bit that we were talking about before with the Neuralink, here I'm going to quote to you. This is from a paper that could be found in some different research publications. One in general is Frontiers in Neuroscience. You could find this, and I'll quote from this paper. It's called Human Brain Cloud Interface. I forget the rest of the title of it, but I could pull it up at some point. I'll find the link for it if people are interested. We could and maybe put it into the notes here. And I quote, "A neural nanorobotically enabled human BCI might serve as a personalized conduit, allowing persons to obtain direct, instantaneous access to virtually any facet of cumulative human knowledge. Other anticipated applications include myriad opportunities to improve education, intelligence, entertainment, traveling, and other interactive experiences. A specialized application might be the capacity to engage in fully immersive experiential sensory experiences, including what is referred to here as transparent shadowing, or TS, they have in parentheses there. Through TS, or transparent shadowing, individuals might experience episodic segments of the lives of other willing participants, locally or remotely, to hopefully encourage and inspire improved understanding and tolerance among all members of the human family," end quote. And that's directly from a peer-reviewed scientific research paper. And they're talking about this stuff. So people need to wake up and understand this is at the doors. This stuff is upon us. So this is, your whole transhumanist push in a nutshell. They want to tie everybody's consciousness together into a hive mind, and this is how they do it. And it's trying to collect all cumulative human knowledge and experience together into one utility and put it in the Internet of Thoughts. And I assure you that is something that's being talked about, and it's a subsystem of the Internet of Things, and something they do plan on implementing, and they plan on doing so by using neurotechnologies, which do in fact exist and are being talked about heavily in the scientific community right now. Yeah. And this Neuralink is one of these. But the way that Neuralink is being presented to us is kind of a primitive form of this technology, which I assure you the military-industrial complex has already figured out how to use and how to implement subvertly without people realizing it's going on. The way Neuralink is being shown to us is it involves like a surgery, and they use special robotic machines to lace the wires and everything together into a person's skull. So the way that this is being rolled out for public consumption is like in the beginning phases of this technology, which in all reality was probably 30 to 50 years ago already explored. So this, when you realize that they're way beyond this in reality within the military industrial complex, special access programs, black budget community, when you realize that they're way beyond this at this point, who knows what they have available now? And these things that they're talking about as being speculative technologies in these research papers are actually a reality. So I can tell you every day we're breathing in nanoparticulates and nano devices unbeknownst to people. I mean, there are things that are admitted in public. There's all kinds of nano tags and nano sensors that they talk about, things like smart dust, neural dust. That's another one that's been admitted to. Things of that nature. And who knows what in the world it is that they're really spraying in the skies above us. So they have all these different delivery systems. It's in our food, it's in our water supply, it's in the very air we breathe, and a lot of it is also in the vaccines. And I think this is why this is such a heavy vector that they're trying to hit us with, is the vaccines. So there's a lot to explore there.
Yeah, I mean, I covered. A lot of people know of DARPA, and then you talked about in, I think it was you talked about in Autism Epidemic, your second book, about IARPA, and them talking, I guess using what we're talking about now, Neuralink and connecting. I think it was a project called Microns. That they were implementing to try to do so. But I've actually there's another one. There's a health one, and man, I can't think of the actual name of it offhand. I did a stream about it with Suzanne. If she's in the chat, maybe she can remember. But they were implementing something called Safe Home. And Safe Home was the government pretty much monitoring through the Internet of Things of whether or not you have any weapons in your house, and if you were mentally unstable, and in doing so would contact the authorities. Kind of like an advanced red flag law, but like to the extreme where they're listening in, and let's say you got an argument with your wife, nothing major, and the next thing the cops are banging on your doors, and it's time to take away your guns, and you may be a threat to your family, and it was just a simple argument, and so that it's very scary that they could use the technology for that to supersede, and also mental health laws to supersede the Second Amendment.
Right, and that's another scary aspect of how they do things. It's amazing how they set this stuff up, so that it intertwines so much. But that's definitely something that's going on. If you look at the manuals and stuff that they use to classify different mental health conditions, it's immense, and pretty much anything could be qualified as a mental health disorder when you look at this. So they could categorically say, oh, well, you're schizophrenic, and then they tie that to the fact that you're a gun owner. You can't have guns anymore. And they're doing this stuff right and left, and they're also using another carrot in a lot of different places, too, for this. Medical marijuana. Like right here in Pennsylvania, where I live, just this past year or so, they passed a law where medical marijuana is actually legal now. But in order to get the medical card for it, you can't own firearms. And this is totally unconstitutional. But, that's the way they get you. So if you want to be the beneficiary of, this medical use of this natural herb, you waive your rights to use a gun or to own a gun. And I don't think that's right. But, I mean, you see that in a lot of these states that are passing this kind of stuff now. So it's one of those things where they're using this as another way, another angle, another attack vector to take away your right to bear arms. So they're definitely using the medical system to do that, and that's just kind of a scary thought right there. And as far as the monitoring, we're being monitored 24/7. Your cell phone spies on you. I mean, that's no
your
big
smart
secret
TV.
Anymore.
Your smart TV. I don't have an Alexa, but people with that
your
Alexa.
Smart toaster.
Yeah. I mean, so I want to read this.
I
want to read this article real quick from the Daily Caller that Suzanne and I had read a long time ago. You might find this interesting. So, Trump administration is considering using Amazon Echo and Apple Watch to determine if citizens should own a gun, by Chris White. Now, the Daily Caller is Tucker Carlson's outfit. This ain't like this is, Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. Any Trump supporters are listening. All right. So that this is a conservative, writing about it. The Trump administration is considering a proposal that would use Google, Amazon, and Apple to collect data on users who exhibit characteristics of mental illness that could lead to violent behavior. The Washington Post reported Thursday. Yeah, the Washington Post reported, but it's still true. The proposal is part of an initiative to create a Health Advanced Research Projects Agency, HARPA, which would be located inside the Health and Human Services Department, the report notes, citing sources inside the administration. The new agency would have a separate budget, and the president would be responsible for appointing its director. HARPA would take after the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, which serves as a research arm for the Pentagon. Boys in the white coats, Josh, you usually say. The idea was first crafted in 2017. But since gotten a renewed push after mass shootings killed 31 people in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio in August. The Suzanne Wright Foundation approached the president recently and proposed the agency include a project called Stopping Abhorrent Fatal Events by Helping Overcome Mental Extremes, or Safe Home. Oh, that sounds nice. Everybody wants a safe home, right? You want a safe home, Wayne? I want a safe home.
Oh, so, everyone wants a safe home.
Oh, okay.
You know.
The report notes citing two people familiar with the matter. President Donald Trump has a close relationship with Bob Wright, who funded the foundation after his wife died of cancer. Wright has former chair of NBC and occupied that position while the president hosted The Apprentice. Harper would develop breakthrough technologies with high specificity and sensitivity for early diagnosis of neuropsychiatric violence, according to a copy of the proposal. A multi-modality solution along with real-time analytics is needed to achieve such accurate diagnosis. The document lists several technologies that would be employed to help collect information, and I've read this document, including Apple Watches, Amazon Echo, and Google Home. Jeffrey Ling, the lead scientific advisor on HARPA, told reporters Thursday the plan would require enormous amounts of data and scientific rigor. He had everybody would be a volunteer. Oh boy, if you see something, say something. We're now inventing new science here. We're analyzing it so we can develop new approaches. The White House declined to provide the Daily Caller and News Foundation with statement, but sources told Washington Post that Trump has reacted very positively to the proposal. It's unclear if he's seen the safe home idea. Google and Amazon have not responded to the Daily Caller's request for comment. So there you go. I mean, yeah, that's the way to implement red flag laws, is it not? When your phone is narking on you because you got an argument, and since you got an argument, or let's say that you got angry. Let's say that you got angry, not an argument with wife. Let's say it's something as simple as you got angry because the Democrats did something, and now you can't have your gun anymore because you're unstable. So it's safe home.
Yep. Now
safe
you're a
home.
Political extremist.
Yeah,
you disagreed with something the mainstream narrative says.
So
yeah,
I mean,
they use this stuff all the time. That's a mental disorder, according to them, is any type of political extremism or anything like that. I mean, when you look at the way they categorize these things, it's crazy. But this is what they plan on doing. They want to use these technologies to take away your rights, pretty much, and have absolute total control over you. So that's what they're doing, and the data collection grid is definitely in place. I mean, they're listening all the time. They have microphones. They have ears everywhere, pretty much, and eyes everywhere too. So it's crazy, just the level of technology that's out there surveilling us without most of the people here in America are even realizing it's going on. Most people are totally oblivious to this, but every bit of data on you is filtered through a threat fusion center in Bluffdale, Utah. People don't know this. That there's an NSA facility in Bluffdale, Utah. They just built there in 2012. Every bit of data in the world goes through that data center, and I have reason to believe that they have a D-Wave quantum computer at the center in Utah there. I don't have any direct proof of this. I don't know for certain, but D-Wave does name a quote-unquote undisclosed government agency as having been one of the recipients of one of their D-Wave computers, one of the purchasers of their D-Wave computers. And I have every reason to believe that this could be the NSA, and this could be located in their threat fusion center in Bluffdale, Utah. Now, along with that, there's also what has been speculated to be going on is many of these D-Wave computers are quantum entangled and share information. If that's the case, there is provably a D-Wave quantum computer at Purdue University, which runs a program on it called Sentient World Simulation, which does have classified aspects to it that are run by DARPA and the intelligence agencies. And this Sentient World Simulation is a real-time model of every human being in the world. Okay, so they could input any type of data or scenario they want in there and come up with a 98% accurate scenario of what will happen within future events based upon either large-scale, like regional models, or even down to individual models. So they could predict behavior. This is like Minority Report on steroids, this thing is. So this could be really going on. People just don't seem to realize data is king. I mean, we live in the era of big data. So everything you do that hits the internet, it's out there and it's available. And it's not even necessarily stuff you do on the internet, because everything's tied to the internet anymore. You go down to the grocery store and buy something. Well, there you are on their video surveillance camera. They have facial recognition technology everywhere.
Or you're giving them your VIC
right.
card,
Right. Yeah, you give them your store club card, so you save a couple cents on a product or something. They know everything you buy. They know everything you're doing. And you don't even have to have that club card. All you have to do is step foot in that store to buy something and pay cash for it or whatever. You're on their video surveillance. They know who you are. They have facial recognition technologies. So they know who you are. They know when you were there, because it's all time-stamped and everything. And they know what you purchased, because it's all tracked through the computer system. So even if you paid cash, they scanned it in their cash register. They know what you bought. So if you went down and, say, bought, I don't know, a bottle of bleach or something at the grocery store, boop, they know what you bought. So then, they could make accusations with something like that if they wanted to, because they have that data on you.
I mean, remember conspiracy theorists like my father back in the day used to say that they were even able to track the books that you checked out at the public library.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that people had a bit of a conniption about back in the 1970s. But I mean, I don't doubt it. They have to keep records on what books are out, and who has them, so that if the book goes missing or something, they know who to contact to get it back or to pay for it. So it's just things like that are common sense. I mean, if there's any kind of a tracking mechanism in place, well, yeah, they're going to be able to find out who you are. It's been like that for the longest time, and people don't realize it. You know what I mean, Wayne? Yeah. So it's just putting the idea out there that somebody might be using your data against you. That's when people get a little upset. But I assure you, this goes on in spades all the time. They use your data like you wouldn't believe. They target ads at you. The supermarket I shop at, for instance, they send us in the mail coupons for stuff we regularly buy there. They know what you're buying. They know, and that's the thing. And this is just marketing aspects of it that they use it to target with. So it's just really astounding. Now, if they wanted to weaponize that and use that against you in a way, imagine the things that they could do.
Yeah, Jimmy had a Carl Street on, and they were talking about the aspects of marketing when it comes to the world order structure, and it comes to the, I guess, the transhumanism aspects of it. And I got an interesting story. I usually keep when I have my cell phone on, I turn off the 4G when I'm not using it, or I keep the Bluetooth off. I don't think I ever use it. Or I don't, when I don't not using the GPS, I turn it off. So those things are supposed to be off, right? So I go to the store, local store, Sprouts, and I'm looking at these vegan Hot Pockets, and I didn't open up the case or pick them up or hold them. I just saw them through the glass, and so I'm thinking, vegan Hot Pocket, who would eat that? And then even if you're a vegan, that's the farthest you're going to get from, plant-based foods. It's like who's going to eat this? And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, so I'm just thinking about it. And I didn't say it out loud. I didn't mention it to anybody. I didn't call anybody and talk to them. So I get home and I sit down on the couch and I start looking through Facebook, and ads for the Mikey's vegan Hot Pockets comes up. Now, how did my phone know when there was nobody around me, so no one said it out loud? I didn't pick it up and hold it. I didn't mention it. And again, my GPS was off, and my Bluetooth was off. So I want to know how it knew, because it wasn't like my GPS was on, so they knew exactly that I was standing at this freezer. So how did they know? It's just insane. It's just crazy.
All right. Well, here's the thing, John. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that's really not much of a secret at this point. They could read your mind. Seriously. Facebook has publicly, just within the past year or two, put out stories where they're actively developing a mind reading tool, so that they could read your thoughts, and I don't know what the reasoning is, to help better accommodate whatever it is you're trying to do, but they do this through a little technology called Optogenetics, and this has everything to do with the actual monitors and stuff themselves, and the cell phone screens, things like that. They actually are able to read your thoughts just by you looking at the screen. And so, like, that's one of those things. And, it's gotten way more sophisticated than that. But this is an actual thing. People will attest to this all the time. I hear people talk about this. Well, I didn't even say this or anything. I was just thinking about it, and then I saw an ad on Facebook. Well, that's what's going on. Because,
and I'm not a vegan, so why would it specifically show me those Hot Pockets? Like, I am an omnivore. I don't eat vegan food, and so why is it? Even if people say, well, it's predicting algorithms, John, and that's how. Well, if it did, it should have predicted ice cream,
right.
not
vegan Hot Pocket.
No, not at all. So like, it's weird. Like, and someone said, I use my debit card. No, I didn't. I just went into Sprouts just to look around. And I did not purchase anything. I was just seeing what was on sale, because I was there actually with my uncle, and he was off somewhere at the time, looking. I think he was looking at supplements, if I remember. And I was looking at the frozen food to see if anything new had come up, as I do from time to time, because sometimes they have new products. Any grocery store does. And so yeah, it's I didn't buy anything. And so that's just really weird. I have no answer for that. I have no answer.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this stuff's really going on, whether people want to admit to it or not. But I'll tell you a little story. I had a very similar experience. This was probably going back a year or more now. I was driving up the road, and on the side of the road where I was driving by, somebody had like an RV, like wasn't a Winnebago, but something along those lines. And it was a really nice motorhome. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, I would love to, at some point, maybe buy a motorhome and go driving across the country. And it was just a fleeting thought. I didn't say anything out loud. I didn't, stop and look. I just glanced at it out of the window and saw it had the for sale sign on it with the price tag, which was like $200,000 or something like that. But and I just drove past because I was driving up the highway. Like, it wasn't even I was stopped at a red light or something. It wasn't anything like that. I just glanced at it and I thought, wow, I would really love to at some point buy a motorhome. So later on that day, I get home, I open up Facebook, and there's an ad there in Facebook Marketplace for a motorhome, an RV, similar to the one that I had just seen. So I know this is going on. And I mean, a lot of people may say it's a step too far or whatever, but I assure you, I mean, all you have to do is look back at the articles. In the mainstream news, Facebook is developing a tool to read your mind. It's really there. People just Google it. So, I mean, this is something that's going on. And I suspect this is being done through optogenetics, which uses blue light especially, which is really prevalent in the monitors and, the screens on the phones and everything like that. It uses this to ping different signals off your neuronal pathways directly behind your optical nerve, and it could read information from there. And this is the thing; it kind of skims your surface thoughts, and could relay it back to whatever server that is monitoring it. So this is how I explain why these ads pop up for people like that. And I've heard innumerable people say that this has happened to them. and they kind of make a joke about it and stuff. But
Interesting,
they
because
really don't want to admit it's going on for real.
I reduced the blue light that I use on my phone during the day by I have it at 3,000 degree Kelvin, and at night I have it at 1,200 degree Kelvin. So of course, blue light in and of itself is necessary that we get from the sun, which is what God gave us. It's error for man to think that they can do better than God. But a lot of these cell phones, they're anywhere between 5 to 6,000 degree Kelvin light for the color temperature. So it's like staring almost at the sun, especially at night when you're in your bed and the room is dark and you're staring at your phone, and your body thinks, because blue light signals the brain to produce serotonin to reduce its production of or methylating serotonin into melatonin, and it triggers alertness, which is what serotonin as one of its main functions as a neurotransmitter among mood stabilization. Is to let your body know that it's daytime. So these people at night, with all the technologies that they're having, staring into their phones, it's just their body's thinking it's daytime, it's daytime, it's daytime. So no wonder we have insomnia issues and problems sleeping, and not feeling awake and refreshed, and third shift workers, like nurses, for example, have higher rates of cancer because they produce less melatonin during the night, and even when they sleep during the day, because of our diurnal circadian rhythm that they are unable to produce. So I mean, it's a major problem. It's just another facet of how the technology is in some ways, of course, if we talked about here, has improved our lives and health, but in other ways has subtly robbed our lives and health too. And at least most people now have blue light filters on their phones or know about blue light. But imagine when I was a kid, going to sleep with the television on at night to bring me comfort, as sick as that is, not knowing that would destroy my melatonin production and everything.
Right. And a lot of people do suffer from these different sleep issues, and this, I think, is one of the main reasons why. Honestly, because we're surrounded everywhere we go by television monitors. I mean, all you got to do is go down to a restaurant. If you go to a restaurant anymore, instead of music playing over the air like it used to be years back, there's a TV in every corner. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, broadcasting you the propaganda, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, they hit you with the propaganda. You're getting hit with the blue light. You're getting overly stimulated. That's the whole thing. I mean, this is a way big problem right now, is the complete overstimulation of the human brain. And what it does is it causes people's attention spans to shut down. And that's another problem we have too. So people can't concentrate. They can't think about a particular subject for any length of time anymore. That's why people tend to read less now than what they have in the past from physical books. I mean, if you're reading from a computer monitor or something, that's kind of having its effect on you as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, people just do not sit and read physical books anymore like they would have at one time or another. Most people you talk to, they don't even read at all, like books. They're mostly just watching television or YouTube, or playing something on their computer, video games, all these things that have the flash rate and stuff that keeps your mind too busy to be able to concentrate on anything or really think about anything long term. So it's kind of one of those things where it's affecting our health in negative ways, especially with the sleep issues too, because your body, if it doesn't produce the melatonin, then you're not going to sleep well. And I know just a whole ton of people that have these issues. I've been very fortunate. My head hits the pillow, I'm out like a light. So I mean, I don't have any sleep issues myself, thankfully. But
I don't anymore, ever since I drastically cut back the amount of blue light that I have at night. And
right.
It could be genes, genetics. Some people are more sensitive to the blue light, and others, if they have polymorphisms in the clock genes.
Hmm.
But what about I guess one last topic, Wayne, and then whatever we want to discuss, we can. And I definitely want to thank you for having you on, brother. Is what about the uncanny valley in that they're moving from 4K to 8K? Can the human brain even process an image that is as high definition as 8K?
No, that's the whole thing. I mean, this is not natural, and this goes right along with the whole end game of the elite to begin with. It's to completely replace our natural reality with a completely unnatural reality. That's what they want to do because you see, they can't control nature as much as they could, do things to try to control nature and to manipulate nature. They can't completely control it unless they replace it with something artificial. And that's what their whole plan is. That's why this whole transhumanist push, that's why they're setting up this major control grid. I mean, this goes way beyond just implanting people with technologies and that kind of thing, and having their thoughts hooked up to a computer. They're trying to tear down all of nature and replace it with something completely artificial so that they could have total absolute control of it. And that's the whole reason for the surveillance too, because see, here's another thing that people don't necessarily look at when they see this stuff. Here's something we know about God, okay?
Okay.
And you could say nature as well. God is omniscient. He knows everything and he sees everything, okay? God's adversary, some would call him Satan, some would call him Lucifer, whatever you refer to this entity as, or this concept as, does not have omnipresence or omniscience like God does. So why set up the surveillance state like this? That's why. It's a mockery of God, and it's
Yes.
to replace God, and that's what these people want. The whole transhumanist push. They want to become God in no uncertain terms. They want absolute control over everything and everyone from cradle to grave. So this is what they want, and they want immortality. And they see this as being feasible through the use of high technologies, and they see it as being closer to fruition now than it ever has been before. So that's the whole reason behind it. They want to become God and replace God with themselves. And this is, who are we talking about when we say they? It's a select group of quote unquote elite family bloodlines at the top of the power structure that have controlled things from pretty much the very beginning. So these are the people that are the movers and shakers that kind of shape our reality and our world and shape our history and our sciences and things of that nature, which have largely been misdescribed to us. History is a lie agreed upon, and our science is also a lie agreed upon at this point too, because if you just look at how the funding of everything goes, this is how they control it, by controlling the purse strings.
Yeah.
So if you don't subscribe to the science, the quote-unquote science that they want pushed and explored, you don't get the funding, and therefore you don't get to perform the experiments or the research work that you want to. So you fall in line with what the power structure wants, and you could have a comfortable life. If you don't, then then you're scraping and scrimping and out there just trying to figure things out on your own with no actual scientific means or tools to do so. And it goes the same way with history. Very few people decide what gets put in the history books, and things are very different in our history books than how they actually occur.
You talk about how scientism pushes the Dark Ages as the most darkest part of human existence, and how they uphold the Enlightenment period, and they uphold the Renaissance period as being true human expression.
Right.
As being one example.
Right. Well, here's the thing. We have no actual evidence that anything that's called the quote-unquote Dark Ages ever existed in our history. And this is one of the many things that comes into play. In fact, when you start going down the research lines and looking at that concept of the Dark Ages and whatnot, you find out that a lot of this history and stuff that talks about that time frame and the Renaissance period and all of that, it's all influenced by the Jesuit order. So, I mean, these are the people that controlled the writing of history from around the time of the start of the 1600s right up into the modern era. These are basically a lot of the people that have been, putting out there the historical narrative they want people to know. So, there's actually, I think it's called the phantom time theory or something like that. But there's a theory that there's about 1,000 years or something like that of history that's kind of been just written in there to explain away a lot of things by somebody in power. And there might be something to this. And the Dark Ages, is one of those things.
Yeah, I a lot of that blends in with Flamenco's new chronology. I myself actually think I believe more of how Michael Joseph talked about it, where the Dark Ages were were part of the 1,000-year reign of Christ's church, and that's why the World Order tried to bury that or subjugate that, and to make it appear to be evil when you have Neil deGrasse Tyson, showing up and saying, the Dark Ages are horrible. We have to look towards the Enlightenment period or look towards the Renaissance. Of course, Enlightenment period, you get the French Revolution. So I mean, but it's so I think it was a way of Satan to kind of put down the part of humanity that I think things may have been better to some degree during that time period, and we've fallen further since then. We're not there to the days of the Roman Empire yet, are we, Wayne? But some could say very close. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And history does kind of repeat itself as well. It's one of those things. All roads do lead to Rome. So Rome has been the model that our society has been built upon.
Yes.
This is a whole concept. Everything's built upon. So, it's one of those things. Is it cyclical? I believe so. And we're coming to the end of a cycle. I do think, because I'm of a similar mindset to you. I think this whole transhuman thing is not going to fully come to fruition. I think they're going to try their best and push it as hard as they can, but I foresee another Tower of Babel moment coming in the future here.
Yes, of course, because God will not allow them to supersede self-will.
Right.
I just don't see it to happen. I think they can't. It would I just don't see it. Well, all right, Wayne, is there anything else that you want to discuss, brother? Or you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, people could find me at, if they want to get in touch with me directly, they could contact me at alchemicaltechrevolution@gmail.com. I have a small YouTube channel called Alchemical Tech Revolution that I do plan on utilizing more. It's kind of just been sitting and waiting in the wings right now. I haven't posted anything on there in a long time now or anything, but I do plan on utilizing that tool very soon. Also, people could catch me every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, at Secrets of Saturn channel on YouTube, where we do a live stream for 2 hours, and it's also simulcast on the Fringe FM, so people could catch me there. Also, I have a Facebook page called Files from the Conspiratorium, where I do a lot of posting, so people could check out that place too. My books are available on Amazon or at pretty much any other fine book retailer at this point, and they're called The Alchemical Tech Revolution, Fulfilling Ancient Esoteric Agendas Through the Use of High Technology. And my more recent book is called The Autism Epidemic, Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret, and that's an eye-opener for a lot of people. And I am currently working on a third book right now, which is titled Cybernetic Messiah, Building the Antichrist System. That one will be coming out sometime this spring, and that one's really interesting too, because it explores just how far back this whole control system setup goes, and it traces way back further than people might think. So this is where people could reach me if they were interested.
And I hope that they shall. I definitely want to thank you for having you on, Wayne. I hope to have you on before the book comes out, and then after the book comes out, because I want to read it and have you on to discuss it. But I definitely want to thank you for coming on. And
anytime.
Your dear
just
friend.
Say the word, and I'm here.
Will do. Your dear friend of the show. Take care, and God bless you.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
All right, that's it for this morning. I'm glad to have Wayne McRoy on. Wayne McRoy is a great friend of the show and a brother in Christ and everything. And I own both of his books. I own both on Kindle and actually have the hard copies. I bought the hard copies and he signed them for me. Have them right here in my hand. When I was down there at the Shoot the Moon conference, I definitely recommend that you pick up and read Wayne's books, The Alchemical Tech Revolution, Autism's Epidemic, Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret. He does excellent research when it comes to transhumanism and how it fits into the beast system. It's just another wheel on the cog of the beast system, the very big wheel, may I add, should I say. And all right, tomorrow we're going to have a show with Lee Veltman. Lee's in the chat right now. We're going to discuss the troubled teen industry, among other things. So yeah, it's going to be a very important show. So looking forward to that tomorrow with Lee. And that's really about it. Until next time, as always, continue reading the documents. Take care.